Calling the city council meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, August the 6th, 2024. We'll have our prayer by Councilwoman Solomon, if everybody will stand.
Father, we thank you for allowing us to gather on this given evening. Father God, we thank you, Lord, for guiding us as we make decisions based on the well-being of our citizens. And Father, in the days to come, we thank you for your hand of protection, and we ask that you keep us covered. It is in your mighty name that we pray. Amen.
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Solomon,
Present.
Councilmember Swenson,
Here.
Councilmember Suggs,
Here.
Councilmember Seaforth,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Hardy.
Present. All present and or accounted for. Citizen comment. If a citizens must sign in before the start of the meeting if they wish to address the council. Citizens should state their name and address before beginning their comments and may speak up to a maximum of 3 minutes. Citizens seeking assistance or asking questions will be contacted by a member of the governing body or by appropriate city staff. Madam Clerk, are there any?
Yes, sir. Christopher Taylor.
Mr. Taylor, if you would stand up to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Taylor. My address is P.O. Box 493, Kinston, North Carolina, 2728504. I stand here as a pastor in this county with some concerns. We had a members meeting last month, and at the end of the meeting, we always address community issues. And someone gave me a video about a lady getting dragged out of her car and beat down by the police. It disturbed me when I saw the video because without incident, without threat to the officer, that kind of force was used. Now, had it been my mother, my daughter, one of my members who's black and female, I'm not sure that I've had that kind of tolerance, because the God I serve is a God who doesn't tolerate injustice, and I would not serve a God who tolerate injustice. So I met with the chief of police. We had a good conversation about that. I want to work with him on this and talk to Councilman woman Solomon. Good, great conversation. And also talk to the mayor. So I stand here today because there seem to be things in the community, the black community, that is going unnoticed. So I started looking at what's happening. There was a situation where a young man was killed by the police, and I think the police hit him, and the body was kind of tangled and disturbed, and that kind of swept away under the carpet. Nobody heard anything about that. Then also there was a situation where it appeared allegedly a young man was tased while handcuffed. That kind of went away a little bit. Nobody heard about that. The situation with the woman who got drugged out of the car and beat down by the police, that kind of got quiet too. And then a couple of years ago, there was some funding that was for a pool in the black community, and no one ever addressed that until the funds were threatening to be taken. Then all of a sudden, let's make this happen. So I stand here today to ask you the question is, are we turning a deaf ear and a blind eye to the problems happening in the black community? Because it appears that these things are happening, and no one said anything about those things. As a pastor, I have other duties that require my attention, but I cannot continue to be a part of a community where our young people are dying, they're going to jail at alarming rates, and we're not addressing these issues. So I stand before City Council today and ask you the question: are we going to continue to let these things happen, and then not address them? Now, don't get me wrong, because it's not a black-white issue for me. You got to understand. You got to go to where the problems are the most. So I'm saying this in the community where 70% of our residents in Kinston are black, and this is happening in our black community. But it appears the leadership is not taking the appropriate steps to make these things happen. So I'm asking each city council member today to ask, are you turning a blind eye and a deaf ear to the problems in the black community? And if you're not, what are we going to do about those things?
Thank you for those comments, sir. And
Well, I think if it's too second, I'd like to have a response.
one of the members of the city staff will get back with you on that, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Clerk, would there be any others?
Stephen LaRoque.
Good evening. Good evening. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, my name is Stephen LaRoque. I live at 2264 Springwood Lane, Kinston, North Carolina. I'm a former three-term representative representing Kinston and Lenoir County. During my business career, I worked at a nonprofit organization in New Bern for the News River Council of Governments, which you're probably familiar with. I also formed two nonprofits, and I became very familiar with writing grants and the requirements for grants, and also what type of fees are paid out of grants. Typically, planning costs and administrative fees can run up to 20% of the total grant amount. I recently became aware of a WNCT TV article that said that the council had approved to partner with Kinston Teens, a local nonprofit, for a $20 million grant. It's basically, it looks like a CDBG grant that's on steroids. It's a whole lot more than what you typically see. Sounds like a good project. Sounds like something that would help Kinston. However, the problem arises with the conflict of interest. You have a city councilman who is the chief executive officer who is paid as her full-time position for Kinston Teens, who will personally benefit from proceeds from this grant. He admitted on social media that the organization would receive funding. This is a clear conflict of interest on its face. I'm not here to discuss the merits of the grant. Like I said, I think it's good, or the organization itself. But I think that the problem arises is when we start having self-dealing go on. You understand people in this country are tired. They see politicians go to Washington and other places and they become millionaires off the backs of the taxpayers. That's what appears to be what's happening in this particular case. When 20% equals $4 million of taxpayer money potentially going to that nonprofit that is, once again, led by a city council member. If this were to stand, what would stop the other four of you forming nonprofits, partnering with the city, and then feathering your own nest with $4 million? Tonight I'm asking the council to address this conflict of interest and to either rescind the partnership agreement or request that Councilman Suggs resign from the city council or resign from Kinston Teens. That will immediately remove the conflict of interest. I don't think we want to go down that path because there are alternatives that can be followed up with, and that's something that's going to put a black eye to the city of Kinston, and we don't need it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, would there be any others?
Tammy Yearwood.
Hello. My name is Tammy Yearwood. I live at 609 Chestnut Street. I am here to speak on the community and for Councilman Suggs, Christopher Suggs, who is my nephew. First of all, I'm going to say, Chris is not the city council by himself. We have other officers up there, elected officials. They have jobs and duties to do. And anytime things come, it is always targeted against him. And I'm only going to say that one time. He is not the city council alone. I have seen it numerous of times where he had phone calls all through the night, anything happening. the streets messed up, people not getting any food, just different things where they just ringing. Kids, just kids with high school. He don't have anything to do with Kinston High School or Lenoir County. That's not his thing. But anyway, what I do want to say is that with Chris' leadership and dedication, he has demonstrated exceptional leadership as both a Kinston City Council member and executive director of the Kinston Teens, bringing fresh perspectives and real commitment to our community for its development. And that's what we're looking for. His dedication to Kinston is evident through his tireless work to improve the lives of residents, particularly in East Kinston, where he has championed initiatives that address long-standing disparities and promote community resilience. Now, I have told him several times, forget Kinston. Yeah, I'm at the age, I'm at a senior citizen now. My mother has passed, my mother who have loved this city for I don't know what. But there's so many things and opportunities Chris can do that he can just go somewhere else and be great. The things that he's bringing back here, I have seen no one else with the accolades that he has presented to this city. And for him to be bullied, lied on, and overall just his character being diminished has really pissed me off. I have sat back and I have not said anything for a long time. And I'm telling you, a situation happened where we're trying to rebuild Kinston in the years to come, whatever this new thing that they're trying to do. I can't think of it now because I got a lot of stuff going on in my head. I'm thinking. But anyway, I got a new house. You wouldn't believe the headache I went through trying to get a house built when people trying to help you get something to make something look better, and then you got to go through changes. Care about that time, but the last thing I do want to say is that his public service, especially those advocating for positive change, should be able to carry out their duties without fear of personal attacks or baseless accusations. The city of Kinston must actively defend its officials, that including all y'all, and the community leaders against such attacks to ensure that they can continue to work for the betterment of this city. If that can't happen, it's ridiculous. And yeah, I want somebody to yield back and tell me what you're going to do about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk, will there be any others?
Crystal Suggs.
Good evening, Council and Mayor Pro Tem, Attorney, City Manager. My name is Crystal Suggs. My address is 1302 Manchester Road, Kinston, North Carolina. A former City Council member, the mother of Chris Suggs, and I want to begin this by saying that I too did not want him to be here. It's bigger than him. We can't shake it if we wanted to. There's a calling on Chris's life to be a light in this city that needs it so desperately. If we do not invest in us, who will? This has been his life since he was a young child. I look back at something, and just 9 years ago today, we were recovering from a heart surgery. Chris had a heart surgery on August 6, 2015. But today I stand here before you to just reiterate the impacts of what this young man did and started at 2014 by starting Kinston Teens. Kinston Teens is a youth organization founded on the premises of getting young people involved in civic engagement and community service. Through those missions, we have been platformed all over the world and definitely nationally with the accolades and the recognition that this small town has gained by the operations under Chris's leadership. What I do want to say more importantly is that we do need to come together as a community to defend public servants from baseless accusations. I shared with my sister, and I have those sentiments, but Chris is respected, and he's a respected leader in our community who has consistently demonstrated his commitment to the well-being of all of Kinston, but with particular emphasis on East Kinston. And I say East Kinston because we came to the determination that if we don't invest in us, nobody will. You know, we all want young black men to grow up and be smart and be well and not get in trouble until we have a young black man who's smart, who's doing well and not getting in trouble, because then it becomes a problem. There is nothing that Chris has done that no one else could not have done. There is nothing that he has done that no one else could not have done. He started a nonprofit, anybody else could. He advocated for his community, anybody else could. What I want to say is that we have an obligation to defend our leaders and our community. When false accusations are being made about misuse, about someone being having a vested interest because of lace in their pockets, Chris hasn't served any federal time because of misappropriations of funds. Chris has not served a day. We have been accused and have been audited and have gotten letters from the Secretary of State on numerous occasions. And y'all know I still get a few more minutes because his clock didn't start until like a minute and a half into his speech. But we have gotten those things from the Secretary of State before that were found unjust. So what I do want to add to that is that we must foster a culture of respect, collaboration, and inclusivity in Kinston. This means supporting individuals and organizations that work towards equity and justice, recognizing the meaningful change and faces resistance from those who misunderstand it or misinterpret it. Because the impact is so much more than what we could ever imagine. The impact that this community will receive from the leadership of Kinston teens and the partnership of a community change grant is just, we can't even begin to imagine what it would do for our community. So I want to challenge each of you on this roster, and I will do more in my capacity as a community advocate and leader. We need to start debunking the myths. When we know they're telling a lie, call them a lie. When we know that they're spreading mistruths, let's just tell them that it's not true. You know, there's no conflict of interest that has been impacted here because it was already approved and covered by the city's attorney. And those are things that we need to just do as a city at whole and just stop them in their tracks when they're spreading misinformation and mistruths about our community. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk, will there be another?
Tony Kinsey.
Good evening, Council. My name is Tony Kinsey. My address is 211 Vance Street. First off, I'm not here to advocate for Chris, but I'm here to advocate for Chris. Brother, I see what you're doing. You know, again, I'm in these streets with these kids. I see how desperately they need your help. Now, again, I'm in these streets trying to get them, whereas you're doing it in a sense of programs that they would never get otherwise. So I commend you, sir, on the works that you do in our community because I do see it. All right? So, again, I'm in these streets dealing with the gangs and dealing with these kids that, you know, they're the next issues on our streets. And, again, they look up and see what you're doing as well. So keep doing what you're doing, sir. It's desperately needed in East Kinston. So what I've done, watching Chris over the last few years, I started a nonprofit of my own a few months ago called the Positive Change Initiative. And what we do is we advocate and mentor to at-risk youth in Kinston. So on August 18th, we're having a shoe giveaway at Holloway Park from 12 to 4. We're giving away at least 100 pair of shoes to at-risk youth. We're feeding, we have hot dogs, hamburgers, snacks, and what have you. I have the radio station 101.9 Kiss FM. They're bringing out DJ Chaos to the event to give away T-shirts and so forth and talk to the kids as well. I also have a basketball camp we're doing. This is my 6th annual free basketball camp I'm doing at Holloway Park next Sunday, this coming Sunday, the 11th, from 12 to 4. This is a special skills camp an advanced skills camp where the kids must already be playing some form of organized basketball. I don't do this for any money or any fame or any accolades. I do this to help these kids. I don't have kids here. My kids are grown, grandkids, everybody's gone. So I don't have kids in this community. However, I see how bad it is in our community in East Kinston and how desperately these kids need some mentoring. So I implore y'all to continue your works in the community, helping these kids, because again, it's not just those kids that it's affecting. So when they're in the streets and they're doing crimes and what have you, it's a trickle-down theory. Because I lived in Los Angeles 30 years. I got people in Los Angeles that know about Kinston and the violence. So again, I implore y'all to continue your works in the community to help these kids. And if you want to come and bring a pair of shoes to help these kids on the 18th, it would be greatly appreciated. We're doing schools from Rochelle, Southeast, Northeast, and Northwest schools only, because that's basically East Kinston. So if you want to help, please. Also, I have a Cash App up there where we have 78 pair of shoes and 23 pair of sandals for the girls. So if you want to help us, by all means, come out and let's support these kids and show them that we actually care about them. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk?
Patricia Wooten.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Patricia Wooten, and I live at 1909 Truman Avenue. And I've listened to everybody's concerns, but what is alarming to me is that when the concerns turn into threatening, physical violence, that one presents to another if certain programs are not passed through, that is when the concern goes to another level for me. Because now Mr. Suggs is being approached on his property with guns and violence. That goes beyond coming up here and speaking to you all. That's about an individual's safety. And that is most concerning, as it should be for everyone in the audience. A human being's safety, not money. Programs are important. Money is important. But safety is equally important. And I just want to say that. I don't want to run the clock down, but Chris is a trusted figure in East Kinston. Chris Suggs has demonstrated exceptional leadership as both a Kinston Citizen Councilman as well as an executive director of Kinston. And that's all I have to say. And I want everyone to take note of that, because these are really things that are really happening to him. His life is being threatening. So thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will there be another?
I have an electronically submitted citizen comment. Jaretta Durant, 805 Girl Scout Road, Kinston. And Ms. Durant says, is LaRoque like Trump a convicted felon? The second is from Connie Leeper, 623 Horton Road, Durham, North Carolina. As co-executive director of the North Carolina Climate Justice Collective, I am writing to express my full support for the City of Kinston's application for the EPA's Environmental and Climate Justice Community Change Grant. This grant presents a significant opportunity to advance environmental and climate justice in East Kinston, a community that has long faced environmental hazards, economic disinvestment, and systemic inequities. By implementing projects that focus on enhancing climate resilience, improving housing conditions, and promoting sustainable development, this initiative will provide lasting benefits to disadvantaged residents and serve as a model for other communities in North Carolina. The partnership between the City of Kinston, Kinston teens, and other local stakeholders demonstrates a strong commitment to equitable development and community engagement. And that's all, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Will there be any others?
No, sir.
Thank you. Adoption of the agenda. If a council member wishes to revise the agenda, the motion to add or delete an item will be entertained before the adoption of the agenda. Will there be any?
Mayor Pro Tem, there does need to be a closed session. I see it's noted on the agenda, but the particulars are for a personnel matter under Section 6, an economic development matter under Section 4, and for legal advice under Section 3.
Oh, wait a minute, I can't get all that. You got all that.
Legal advice.
Six. Okay. Number 6. Yep. Number 7.
Economic development.
4. 3.
Is it two economic development?
And entertain a motion to adopt the agenda with the for us to go into closed session on items
Motion.
6, 4, and 3. The motion was made.
Second. Okay.
Motion was made and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Consider approval of the minutes for the city council meeting held on July 16, 2024. Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. I'd like to ask for clarification on item 16 of the minutes. I needed to know if we were voting on just the resolution, or are we voting, did you all vote on the resolution and the application?
Understand, Madam Clerk, I'm gonna have
Agreement.
we're gonna have the attorney address that.
I don't have the minutes in front of me. Was it in the email you sent earlier? I can pull them up and look.
Yes. It should say, rescene 8-5, which was yesterday.
I'm not finding it, but my understanding of the vote was that it was to submit the application and for me to review and revise the draft agreement that was included in the agenda materials.
So the application was to be submitted, the resolution was approved, and then the review of the agreement.
Of the partnership agreement. And my understanding of the timing of that was because there's an opportunity for a pre-review if the application and the agreement are submitted by a certain deadline, which I believe is in August. Then they'll give you feedback on that so that you can revise and resubmit by the final deadline, which is in November.
Okay, I will amend the minute.
That's my understanding. Now, the council can correct me if they recall differently.
That's the way I recall it.
Is that?
That's correct, Madam Clerk.
I will amend the minute.
Thank you. Now I entertain a motion. Motion made and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Action agenda. Consider approval of change of order to 2024 road improvements. Steve Miller.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. At the last council meeting on July 16th, we awarded the construction contract for the 2024 road improvement project to Barnhill Contracting Company in the amount of $712,755. It included all of the streets that were in the original bid. The award did not include the alternate bid, which was for some paving at Westview Cemetery, and it didn't include any of the additional streets that had been discussed prior to the bid. But at that meeting, council did agree to allow us to look at doing a change order to use funds that have been appropriated this year to continue work and add additional streets to the contract. The total funding available for all of the resurfacing we're looking at is just over $1.3 million. So we went back and looked at streets on our pavement condition survey that were in bad shape. We verified things in the field as far as relative conditions, looked at utilities and other issues with the streets to see what streets were ready to be resurfaced. And in the end, we came up with a list of streets that we've included in this agenda. The streets that we're recommending be included include Melba Road, portions of Villa Drive, Wilson Avenue, Nelson Street, Brentwood Drive, Washington Street, Cleveland Drive, McDaniel Street, Perry Street, Hodges Road, Mount Vernon Park Drive, including Monroe at the very end of that between Mount Vernon Park and Jefferson, Lockwood Drive, another section of Hardy Road, and then to include the paving that was bid for Westview Cemetery. If all these streets are added, a map was included kind of showing the general locations, but the total amount of the change order would be $563,634.50. And that would accomplish all of those streets plus the original streets that are on the map. I'll be glad to answer any questions. If we do this project by itself with all of these streets will accomplish resurfacing on 30 street sections, including 29 of the top 45 streets that are in the list. So this will be of a significant impact on some of the worst streets that we have that are city maintained.
Anything from the council?
Mr. Steve, I had a question about the inclusion of Melba Road in this. That's a very short piece of road. There's only one actual driveway. The house base is Hodges, but there's one driveway on it. Was there any particular reason why we prioritized that over another one? I know it is in pretty bad shape, but it's pretty much just the individual driveway, and it goes to a dead end.
Yes, sir. Streets like that, we typically we'll get little streets like that sometimes that are very bad shape near the top of the list. We won't go out and do them by themselves. So if we're doing the neighboring street, we'll try to include those streets and do them at the same time. We did something similar out there in Farmgate with Hayloft Circle. Because we're doing the main street, we're going to include that circle as well.
Anything further from the council? Entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion made and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider approval of cost increase for electric interrupter. Steve Miller.
Thank you. In February, at the February 5th City Council meeting, we came to you with a request to approve a purchase of 3 interrupters that had been damaged back in August of last year. We came before you because the amount was $103,295.84, which exceeds the manager's ability to sign without your approval. However, since we did that, we executed a purchase order, sent it to the vendor. Last month we received a new quote from the vendor when they went to go build these interrupters with an increase in cost. We've seen this in a lot of vehicles. Haven't seen it a whole lot in materials, but it is something we run into with long lead times, that by the time they go to start manufacturing them, their costs are going up. They provided a new quote. The amount of the new quote, including tax, was $109,412.58, which is an increase of $6,116.74. Again, because this is all over the manager's amount and it was previously approved by council, I'm coming back to you tonight with a request to approve the new cost, which is an addition of $6,116.74. We have funds in our operating budget to cover the expense, so we're not asking for any additional money.
Anything from the council?
Yes. I would like to know if these are the matching interrupters for the city of Kinston, Wilson, sorry, that we're replacing, that we borrowed from them.
What we did in August when we had the damage to the ones we had is we borrowed interrupters from the city of Wilson. So as part of that, we need to purchase interrupters and get them. With the lead times, we couldn't get it done in time to put the new equipment back in the substation. So these are large pieces of equipment that go in our substations that connect from our distribution lines that go to neighborhoods back to the substation. So we do have to purchase these to replace those, and that was part of our agreement with Wilson.
Thank you.
Anything further from the council?
Steve, when we get quotes, what's the time limit on the quote? Is it a 90-day window or?
Most of the time, if we get a quote from a vendor, it's typically 30 to 60 to 90 days, depending on the vendors and what it is they're getting. But they always are including little clauses now that should the cost go up after we make the agreement, they're allowed to charge additional funds.
So, Steve, do we put the contingency in these situations or no?
You say it again, sir? I'm sorry.
Contingency fee, do we do a contingency fee?
We didn't for this one.
All right. Anything further from the council?
So we have the additional funds, the $6,116.74.
Yes, ma'am. We're going to use our distribution account and our electric operating budget for that.
Anything further? Entertain the motion.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Consider approval of purchase of a Derrick truck in the electric division. Steve Miller.
Thank you again. In the current fiscal year, we did include funds in the electric budget to purchase a replacement truck for an existing Derrick vehicle that we have. I included a picture of one in the agenda item because it's a little unusual description for a piece of equipment. But basically, these are the large trucks our electric division uses that can carry an electric pole on the truck. It can dig the hole to put the pole on the ground, and then it can hold the pole in place while it's being secured. So it's very specialized equipment. We included in our budget $433,736.72 for the truck. The quote that we have is from Derrick USA. The amount is $411,464. Delivery and everything is included. Taxes and fees like that are not included, so those would be additional. The delivery time estimate for this truck is 520 to 720 days, so 2 years basically to get the truck. Because of that, as we just saw with the interrupters, I would not be surprised to see some, hopefully very small price increase during that time when they actually start production. So although I'm recommending that we approve the purchase for $411,464, I'm also requesting that the remaining funds that were appropriated be included as a contingency should there be a price increase. It wouldn't be used for adding equipment or anything else to the truck, solely if the manufacturer came back with a price increase prior to delivering the vehicle. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Anything from the council?
Just want to know now, the truck that we had was
purchased in 2012, and we had 49,435 miles on that. My concern is the one that we're purchasing now, since this is something that we really need. Will it last that long, or are we projecting that we might need another one in said amount of years? Because I'm looking at, you have to, in addition to the quote, you have to also have the tags and taxes for these trucks that are included, and then with the additional funds that we have to add, which was $22,272.72. I'm thinking this is a lot of money, and it's a piece of equipment that we really need. So as we look in the future, are we going to project or include money to on the side or in a contingency fund to purchase another utility truck?
We have, I believe, 4 of these trucks in our fleet. This truck here, it is in the worst condition.
Mm-hmm.
We typically get 12 to 15 years from the trucks. The mileage isn't real high, but these are trucks that once we drive them to a job site, they will run during the entire operation. They have hydraulic systems for operating that drill that's on it and all the equipment. So the hours on the trucks add up as they get used. So that's kind of the primary focus for that. So we're right at the entry level of when these trucks typically get replaced. But again, it's got a 2-year window to get the truck. So by the time we get the truck, this one's going to be 14 years old, and really in need of replacement by that point.
Right. Thank you.
Madam Manager, do you want to add something?
I was just going to tag on the back of what Steve was saying to give you some more comfort, Ms. Seaforth. The Public Service Department has an extensive vehicle replacement schedule for all the utilities. A lot of their equipment is very expensive. And so what Steve is saying is they typically keep this type of equipment 10 to 12 years. And also, as you said, it's not so much about miles, it's about hours on these trucks, because they go to a site and they're working. They're not just a vehicle to get there. And so what he uses his vehicle and replacement schedule when he's doing his budget to see which ones are due and try to space those out, so because he's also trying to offset any rate increases at the same time.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further from the council? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item number 4, consider adoption of FY 2025 operating budget amendment. Ms. Donna Goodson.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. In your packet, you have the first 24-25 operating budget amendment. The budget amendment at this point in time includes an operating budget amendment for purchase order rollovers that we do once a year. And you have in your packet the purchase rollover listing by fund, and it includes a brief description of the items and services. Departments must submit these rollover requests in mid-July, and they must be more than $5,000 unless approved by the finance director. The items or services on this list represent construction contracts or service contracts that require significant time to completion or implementation, which extends beyond the boundaries of the annual operating budget year from July 1 through June 30th. The total rollover is $8,723,579. However, the operating budget amendment is for only $2,358,572, which are for the operating funds and does not include projects that have rollovers also. In addition, and for this operating amendment, we have several closings of projects that have already been approved by council, and these operating budget amendments is just to recognize the transferring of any remaining funds from those projects into the respective operating funds. That includes Hurricane Matthew and several electrical capital projects that have been closed in the last two agendas. Also, we have an amendment for the Capital Reserve Water Resources Fund to establish the C-130 Waterline Extension Capital Project. and also for the funds transfer for the Vernon Avenue sewer rehabilitation project, and then one amendment for some for very needed existing roof rehabilitation on City Hall. So that's it's included in the budget amendment also. So if I'll entertain any questions.
Any questions from the council? Ms. Goodson, I'm gonna entertain a motion to do 4 and 5 because you did cover the C-130 water extension. So entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 6, consider approval of preservation and restoration grant agreement. Smart City Kinston City Project Foundation, Paramount Theater. Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Smart Kinston City Project Foundation is a 501c nonprofit. Its mission is to build Kinston and Lenoir County's creative economy. They are the current owners of the Paramount Theater, which was an important cultural and tourism asset in downtown. The Paramount was donated to Smart Kinston in 2021 with the goal of rehabilitation of the historic property for use as a multifunctional performing arts and theater venue. In your package, you have the proposed grant agreement, which has been approved by both Smart Kinston and also our city attorney's office. The grant funds, which is $20,000 that's being requested, will be put together with funds that are coming through from Smart Kinston's own fundraising efforts. Also, the Lenoir County commissioners will consider funding of an equal amount as to our $20,000 at their next meeting, and also they're going to make a request to TDA. Some of the work we'll do to the theater is an exterior renovation, a marquee restoration, restoring the brickwork, historic brickwork and things on the side of the building. Mr. Stephen Hill, who represents Smart Kinston City Project, is here tonight if she had any specific questions. If not, I would just advise the council that we have located funding within our Queen Street rehabilitation, I believe, project that the finance director has confirmed is available if this council chooses to contribute their $20,000 to the project.
Anything from the council?
I think it's a great idea with the renovation and restoration of this historic site. I just wanted to know when the work would begin and if there would be any work done on the interior of the
Mr. Hill, do you think you could come up and respond to some questions? Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Right now, all we're going to do is the marquee, light it up, and first of all, we're going to take all the old stucco off the building and re-stucco it and paint it black and white like it was, and then redo the lights. That's all we can afford right now. But the inside is not as bad as you think.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to take some air conditioning, and it's going to, another $500,000, but at least we'll have something that people can get excited about. There needs to be a little bit of excitement on Queen Street right now.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Anything further from Mr. Hill? Thank you, Mr. Hill. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Manager's report. Oh, that's right. I got that. Entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. City departments are working hard to prepare for, I think it's called just Tropical Storm Debbie at this time. And I wanted, if you give me just a couple of minutes, I wanted to ask our interim fire chief to come forward and just give us a quick update on where the storm is and what we should look out for.
Thank you, Manager, Council. Tropical Storm Debbie is currently moving at 3 miles an hour east-northeast. Is expected to continue that track through Thursday night. It has maximum winds of 40 miles an hour. Be mindful that the tropical storm force winds extend outward from the center up to 205 miles. We should expect anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of rain from now until Friday night. Some areas even heavier than that, depending on how the offshore flow is and the bands that come in. Also, remember, if there's water over the roadway, please turn around, don't drown. Just because the road was there, if it's dark and there's water over it, the road might not be there. All right, we've had that happen in Florida, and some people were seriously injured, so remember that. One of our major concerns is flash flooding, depending on, again, the rainfall amounts and the locations of the feeder bands. Rest assured, the fire department will have additional staff on duty Thursday and Friday. Our high water vehicle will be in service, and also our rescue boat, should it be needed. I really hope this is a nice, easy rain event. Everybody can hang out inside and network together without using their phones and actually in person. And everybody would be safe, and it'll go away, and we'll have a nice weekend. But just be prepared, and again, if you need assistance or you notice the water's coming, dial 911 and we'll try to assist you in every way we can.
Thank you, Chief. Anything else, Ms. Mr. Attorney?
No report tonight.
Member of the council, anybody?
Mayor Pro Tem, just for a quick second, if we could have this. I put the city attorney on the spot earlier, and I'm going to put Ms. Bloom on the spot, but we had several residents calling about shrubbery, debris, overgrown properties, and just would like for Ms. Blunt to explain, if she could, to the general public, the process that we have in place for that situation and what's not on the books and what's on the books.
Ms. Blunt.
Thank you, Councilman Winston. I don't know if it's on, but can you hear me pretty good?
Well, we can hear you.
Do you mind for the audience to hear you?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so the question about cutting the shrubberies and the grass, first of all, if it's our property, we have a buildings and ground and we take care of our own property. However, a lot of the calls that come in is for private property. And so we do not have enough money or manpower to cut all of these. So what we have in our books and the ordinance, it says weed abatement, if it belongs to a private property owner, we have to give them notice. So we take in a complaint. We do have a form online so that people can fill that out, and that just helps us to be able to keep a track of all the calls that come in, and we have something in writing. So we touch bases with the property. First of all, we go out there and take pictures. We document what it looks like. We send a letter to the property owner that is on record, and sometimes that's a little difficult because it could be air property. We have to give them at least 10 days in accordance to the ordinance to respond. If they do not respond in 10 days, then we can contract someone to go and cut the grass. It's not the city that's cutting the grass. The city is contracting someone to go cut the grass. And with it, there is a fee, and that fee would then be tacked on to the property owner in addition to the fines that will accumulate over the 10-day period. So most of the time, we have gotten a lot of cooperation with the property owners that we have contacted, but something that may cost someone maybe $30 at most to cut can end up costing them over $500 if they go over the period, don't respond. We have to send out a contractor, and they're building up fines. So that's what we do. When the call comes in, we document it. We go out, we take pictures. We send the property owner, if it's private property, a letter and give them 10 business days to respond to us. If they do not respond, then we have to hire someone. And as a lot of companies are short-staffed, so are landscapers and mowers, people that cut grass. So they are backed up as well. Hope that answered your question.
I was just going to add, this form that Ms. Blunt spoke about is very, very easy to use, and you access it through your planning department's website. Correct?
As a matter of fact, it's on the front of the city's website. If they scroll down to the bottom, it says Code Enforcement Complaint, and so they can fill that form out there.
Yeah. For people who may not be as technologically savvy, are we still accepting people if we call in a complaint or something like that?
Absolutely. We'll even help. We would go to people and help them do it on their phones. We have spent time in the lobby to do that. We do want to keep it on that paper because, you know, things get lost, phone calls. We just want to make sure that we can document it accurately when the call came in and when we sent out a letter, and so that's how we're tracking it. But we would definitely help someone fill out that form.
Thank you so much, Ms. Blunt. Anything else from the council? I just want to say on behalf of the Alderman. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I do have something to say. I was hoping one of my colleagues would have said something else, but I do want to address the comments that came up tonight. I do really appreciate my family for always standing up and standing in the gap for me and for this community. People, you know, ask me often, how do you do it all, Chris? How do you, you know, run for office and run an organization, lead so many different projects for Kinston? And it's because I have a really amazing family who never hesitates to answer the call to service, to advocacy, to leadership. So I'm really grateful for my family for standing up and sharing those comments here tonight. They were very, very honest in their feedback and their description of their conversations with me. You know, Chris, why are you here? Why are you still here? I had so many opportunities my senior year of college, even in amidst a deadly global pandemic when I graduated from UNC. There were job opportunities, there was law school, there was graduate programs. There were so many other things I could have and probably sometimes I think should have done. But I had a strong and sincere love for this community, a strong and sincere love for my family. This is the place that made me into being the leader that I am, the leader who cares about this community. I love the people here. I love all of you. I've known everyone that I serve with on this council my entire life. That's rare that an elected official can say that about all of their colleagues. I've known all of you my entire life. And to be able to serve alongside you, serve this community, has been an honor for me because this is the place that I care so deeply about. But at the same time, it has been a disappointment for me that when we have the opportunity as a body to, you know, really show our leadership, show our courage, show that we will stand up and speak truth to lies and misinformation and attacks, to when we will show that we will assert the power and authority that's vested in us as city council members and elected officials for this community to do something brave, to do something different, to do something transformative for Kinston and Lenore County, I feel like we're always hesitant to do it. We are hesitant to step out as a body to do what I truly believe is right. And I think we have a responsibility to do that. When people spread lies about us, and, you know, the comments that my family shared tonight were, you know, about me and in defense of me. But in the 3 years that I've been on the council now, I've seen people attack and criticize and condemn, you know, each of us, every single one of us up here. Now, I don't think, and I don't wish this on any of y'all, but I don't think there has been the level of vitriol against any of you that I've received. And, you know, I'm not new to the attacks and the criticism and stuff that I've gotten. I served as president of the Black Student Movement at UNC Chapel Hill, the largest student organization on campus at UNC Chapel Hill. I served as senior class president of my graduating class during a pandemic, when people were criticizing the way the university handled the pandemic, I was still responsible for leading our student body through those tumultuous times. When neo-Nazis and racists and crazy Confederate empathizers were sending death threats to students on campus about the removal of the Silent Sam Confederate statue on UNC's campus, I was on the receiving end of a lot of those threats and attacks and death threats against my life. And I never wavered in my commitment to my community at Chapel Hill because I knew what I signed up for. I knew that I had a greater purpose for my 4 years on campus there. But then I came back home to Kinston and decided to run for city council. And that level of vitriol and attacks and literal threats against my life has been something that could ever compare to what I received in Chapel Hill. And I think the stark contrast is because these are people right here in my community. These are people where now I've got to watch over my shoulders when I'm in the grocery store, or I look out my window and I see people taking pictures of my house, or people coming on my property trying to threaten and intimidate me because I called them out about a lie or about some bull crap. Like, those are some of the things I've encountered since getting elected. And it has disappointed me because I'm not sure to what extent you all have been aware of some of the things I've gone through, but I know you're aware of some of it. And in the 3 years that I've been dealing with this and receiving these attacks, only one member of this body, Mayor Hardy, has been the only person to ever call and actually check on me or offer any words of support and encouragement with what I'm dealing with. And not once have I ever seen or heard you all condemn the attacks that any of us have gotten, but especially what I've gotten when we have the opportunity to do so. Tonight, when somebody came up and spreading all types of crazy stuff during the public comment meeting, whether you did it then or you did it during your council member comments at the end of the meeting, we had an opportunity to say, you know what, we're not going to stand for this type of stuff. We have a city attorney who vets our contracts and our agreements. We're all, well equipped to do our due diligence before we enter into things or vote on things. You all had an opportunity to defend the city of Kinston, defend me, but not also me, but just the city of Kinston as a whole, to do that tonight, and nobody stepped up and do it. It has also disappointed me time and time and again. People have come to this meeting and just stated something as simple as, why don't y'all allow solar panels in the city of Kinston? And we will get up and let them walk away out of this meeting and not correct them on that misinformation. When we see things that are not true, we hear things that are not true, we have a responsibility and an obligation to correct any mistruths. And we as a body do not do that enough. And I wanted to let that be known tonight because I want us to be brave. I want us to be courageous in our leadership for this city. I want Kinston to grow and expand beyond what any of us could ever imagine. But it takes that courage, and I need us as a body to show that courage. I believe in transparency and accountability in everything I do. I try my best to dot all my I's and cross all my T's. And as my mom mentioned earlier, anything that I've done is not anything that was made specially for just Chris. It's not anything that no one else could have ever done. But I just stepped up to do it. There are so many other organizations and entities and people in Kinston who could have ran for city council, who could have started a nonprofit, who could have partnered with the city on this or partnered with any other entity on that. They chose not to for whatever reason. I've done it, and I believe it's completely unfair, some of the attacks and things I've gotten because of my initiative, of my leadership. And so, not to make this about me, but to make this about the city of Kinston, I just want us to do better. It's so interesting that somebody had the audacity and nerve to say that I need to resign, because, I've honestly considered that at times over the last 3 years, whether or not I just should end my term a little bit early and go on and do something else, go ahead to law school like all of my other friends with good sense went through after undergrad. But I like what I do. I enjoy what I do. And, I'll be doggone if I'm going to resign now that somebody has come up here and told me to. But it bothers me that we as a body just don't step up into our role as leaders enough. And I don't want you all to ever experience some of the hate and things I got. I don't want you all to experience the level of criticism and stuff. But what I do want for you to do is to defend me and to defend this city, because you're not defending me personally. You're defending me in my capacity as a city council member, as your colleague, as a representative for the city of Kinston. And, it has also bothered me at times that I've seen you all go back to some of the same people who've attacked and threw the city of Kinston under the bus. And then, I look out and say, oh, there's one of my colleagues out to eat with this same person who was just, talking crap about the city of Kinston, or here's another colleague interacting with them on Facebook when the last post this person made was all types of conspiracy theories about the city of Kinston. We have an obligation to call out BS when we see BS, to speak truth to power, speak truth to people who think they have more power than us, because we are the highest elected body in the city of Kinston. We have a responsibility to govern this institution and steward its resources in the right direction. And when people try to attack us, discredit us, I just want us to do better when it comes to how we show up and respond in support of each other and in support of this city government. Because transparency is important, accountability is important, and calling out BS when we know it's BS is very important. So, thank you.
Anything further from the council? Chris, I sympathize with what you're saying. You have been attacked a lot, and I can speak for that because I hear it in the streets as well as myself, and I know Ms. Solomon can contest to that too. So we all are criticized, and my understanding, as long as I've been on this council, when people come up and do their 3-minute talk, that we was only supposed to listen to them and then say we'll get back with them. That was always my understanding. If it's anything different, then I would have been said something. But I just wanted to say that, and on behalf of the Honorable Mayor, Don Hardy, who is not with us tonight, we pray for his family and safe travel as he's in Pennsylvania, taking care of city business. So we want to keep him in prayer. I want to thank all the people, all the citizens that came out this weekend for these back to school drives, support our youth. And I encourage everybody to continue to think about some of the things that have been said here tonight. And as we move forward as city leaders, to take those things in consideration when we do have the people come up against us about different things that we're doing for our city. If we wasn't doing the right things, I don't think we'll keep getting voted into office. So I can encourage all of y'all to keep a positive mind and move forward doing the right things, because that's what it all boils down to, doing the right thing. And I also want to add to the rec department for their constant work in getting our recreation centers back up to stuff with equipment and seats and all that things, because they make a difference in our youth lives. So I just want to thank the rec department and the rest of the staff for all that y'all do. It's truly amazing some of the things that y'all do that make us look good as a council, and I truly appreciate all that, and I know the mayor does as well. And I'll leave it at that. Entertain a motion to go into closed session. A motion moved and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.